DJ Sbu, are you Mzekezeke?
No.
When is Mzekezeke coming back?
Do
you speak to him?
Yeah.
When is he coming back?
I haven't spoken to him in quite some time now.
This is the Hustlers Corner.
Hustlers and squatters, brothers and sisters from all over the world, another start of a brand new week. 12 o'clock midday. Some of you guys are grinding it out there in the office. Some of you guys are watching us from home, from your cell phones. Some of you hustlers building your businesses. Some of you guys are Uber drivers, hustling, doing your thing. We love you guys. We love hustlers out there. This is the home of hustlers. Click, click. First up, let's go straight to that like sign. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Click, click, click like that. Let's click on the subscription button as well so the community gets to grow. I'm never alone. You know I'm with my brother, the Black Pen, Penuel.
Whoop!
How you
I said,
doing,
DJ Sbu, how are you doing?
I'm blessed. How are you?
No, I'm good. It's been a long week. I'm a bit tired. I'm also dealing with some own personal decisions that I need to make that are probably going to change, not change, but maybe cement the direction that my life is going to be moving in. So I've been thinking about that a lot, spending time with family, doing work, creating content, doing a bit of traveling, meeting new people, responding to a hell of a lot of DMs. But otherwise, I'm happy, I'm good. And again, shout out to everyone who's working. I love people who work hard. I used to not understand why American presidential hopefuls will always speak about the working class. But those are the people that literally run and build a nation. So every time I'm inside a mall, every time I'm passing a construction site, every time I see people in a government department, every time I'm in a hospital, I look at those people. And when some of them say, hey, Pen, you were DJ Sbu. I'm like, thank you so much for the work you guys do. Whether you're inside a spa, ShopRite, you're inside a wholesaler, I push MOFAYA. I'm just like, thank you so much for your work. You guys inspire us to do the work that we're doing because you guys literally build a nation and keep it going. So shout out to all the hustlers, shout out to all the squatters, and happy Monday to all of you.
That's dope, man. It's good to hear. I can see you clean shaven. Next week in shows, I say cool.
I hope so. We just come out of African New Year, you know, and for me, I like the idea of a rebirth. In my family, my brother started this tradition where my mom, when his child turns 1, my mom is the one that cuts his hair. So just in Jogba, clean and fresh after spring and then going into the festive season. We'll see how it goes. Mklampi Nchebe is when I come back. I know I've sold out to the Nchebe gang, but I'm coming back bigger and stronger and pushier.
Speaking about your brother, shout outs to Mr. Penson.
Come on.
I just listened to his interview and I just got into his head. Interesting brother.
No, he is.
Is there a reason why both of you guys' names start with a pen?
The reason is my mother, who probably thinks she's some type of a poet of sorts. Umamsi named me Penuel, which is Hebrew for the face of God. Then she named my brother Penson. And when my youngest sister Penrose was born, it just became a trio of pens. I was Ulungelo, which is my second name. My brother became Ulungsani. And then when my sister was born, it was Ulungiswa. So I think she was being creative and poetic. Because Iposi says PL Mlocho, and we don't know manje ukuthi Iposi labani.
No, shout outs to Mr. Pen. Grotman Sisonke. Love and blessings. Beautiful mind. He has to also start his own podcast.
He has to.
Interesting mind. Beautiful mind.
Very aggressive and slightly different to me. Very similar to me, but slightly different. Higher testosterone. Gyms a lot. Loves guns. Loves dogs. He's what you'd call a man's man. You know, and we have a lot of conversations around society, where men are falling short, where black people are falling short, how to live a better world, how to make money in easier ways, because we're always looking for shortcuts to make money. And by shortcuts, I don't mean cheating. I mean, how can you minimize your efforts and maximize your output?
Working smarter.
Working smarter, essentially, yeah. So definitely a great mind. And I'm hoping that with some of the conversations I've had with him, he sees the reach that he can get. And hopefully some people are going to also advise him, Baba, we'd like to hear some of your thoughts, because he doesn't believe in some of the things I believe in. You know, I'm speaking to him about a genderless future. He's vehemently against that.
But that's what the elites are busy with.
That's what the elites are busy with.
That's what's going on, actually.
Yeah.
The genderless future.
I don't think he's a Pan-Africanist, etc., etc. So it allows him to also come with his views We like people that have views. We like people that genuinely care about people and uplifting people. And I believe he's one of those people. So
I listened to an interesting discussion when he was talking about umakunyiwa nifuna thina.
yeah,
Nifuna ukuzokhalela kithi amadoda.
yeah,
Kodwa izinto nazi normal. Guys, you guys are just too, you know. And it was quite an interesting discussion about the word toxic masculinity.
yeah.
Marikbeni nakunyiwa ndinga ama-toxic men. Well, not toxic as in the word toxic.
Look, there's a very nice quote that says, toxic masculinity ceases to exist when barbarians are at the gate. What that means is once a war is here, once the criminals are here, once the exact same things you said you hate about me are the things you want me to enact on the people that are coming to threaten us. How do I become a monster that can fight other monsters if you won't let me turn myself into a monster? Of course, and Jordan Peterson speaks about this, a man has to be very dangerous. He has to become a beast, a monster, but he must learn to tame and control it when it comes to his people. You look at something like Inja, you know. Inja is ofika inkonkote anyone ofika ejardini. Igebeng mazeqe fence. But when it comes to ingane zala yajabula iweka umsila ihleke. So a man almost must be something similar. You must become the most ferocious beast that you can become the strongest, the most violent, who can do crazy things to the world out there. But at home, and I think this is what women love. They love having umchito sajwayo.
Protector.
But as soon as she comes, it's like, babe, spoo. Yes, babe, no, I'm coming, I'll hold. She loves the idea that when she walks in the streets, but I've got a remote that controls him. So you cannot become a beast unless you take on some of these traits that are called toxic masculinity. Being violent, loving guns, speaking a certain way, which is maybe deemed inappropriate. But when the barbarians are at the gate, when a Vladimir Putin, when Xi Jinping, when a Joe Biden are bringing soldiers into your space, can you fight fire with fire?
I've been saying that for many years when people have been telling me my approach of growing my MOFAYA business is too aggressive, it's too brash, it's too street, it's too loud, it's too unconventional, it ruffles feathers.
Yes.
And I've been told that's the reason why the entire entertainment industry sort of distanced itself from me a couple of years ago. But if we are saying we're speaking this narrative of grabbing and growing our own economic freedom or creating our own economic freedom, do you think you're going to have to, there's certain ways in how you should approach that. It's a system, it's designed. You can't break it because then you're breaking the law, you're going to go to jail. But there has to be some sort of ways in how you become creative in approaching the system to still achieve your goals, you know? And if it works for you, it works for you. As long as you're not breaking the law, you're not killing anyone, you're not disrupting any other person's business. But if you are disruptive by nature, or you are disruptive in a manner in which you are delivering your whatever project it is, or pursuing whatever project it is, then so be it. It's a new world that we're in. Anybody can do whatever. Anybody can become whatever in their own way. But I also still do believe in being a man's man.
Yeah.
I also still believe in being I know the word is thrown around a lot on the internet these days, but in being an alpha male.
Yeah. You can never change the world by being agreeable. It's impossible. We speak very fondly now of the late Tata Nelson Mandela. The guy was a rebel. He was a rebel. That's why he was called a terrorist at some point internationally. That's why he was arrested and was potentially going to get murdered. He was a rebel. Today we love him. The whole world loves him. Nelson Mandela, what. The Jesus Christ character, same thing. He was a rebel. You cannot change the world. And today you've got your Mark Zuckerbergs, you've got your DJ Smoos, you've got many other disruptors out there. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. You can't. And I think, look, there's a place in the world for agreeable people. We can't all be chaotic and whatever. But once you have an idea that's burning inside you, and you know fundamentally that this will change the world for the better, you must understand that when you start pushing for this idea, all these agreeable people will come at you. It's just part of the game, unfortunately. If you want to succeed in soccer, there are many guys who are going to want to tackle you on the field. If you're a goalkeeper, many guys bazofuna ukushaya ngeshoti ukuthi ibhola lingene likushaye likulima. It's just the same in life. You know, agreeable people, because they've gotten used to a certain system, will fight you, but you have to fight through that because that's what it takes to be great. You speak about MOFAYA now. I want to speak about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and Instagram. You were in Limpopo promoting MOFAYA.
Yeah. And I also want to speak about Kanye West as well. So you
Sure.
want to speak about Mark Zuckerberg and?
I actually want to speak about Kanye West, but I want to speak about Mark Zuckerberg and this thing of being rebellious.
And let's continue. Sure.
No, I want you to speak about MOFAYA.
We'll speak about Limpopo. It's fine. Let's continue with this. I like what the direction at which the conversation is going.
So I was, and we spoke about this. I was permanently suspended off Twitter. You know.
So what you were saying last week, Vele, now it's permanent.
Yeah, it's permanent. I've tried to appeal twice, and I've gotten emails back saying the content I posted was hate speech, which
Sure.
it really wasn't. You can speak to anyone, look to anyone. It was not hate speech, but my account is gone.
Oh, I didn't know you also have haters. I've read a lot of comments who are celebrating. Yeah, they've gotten rid of, and I saw somebody writing good riddance.
Yes.
I'm like, how? Gandhi Penyal also has haters.
No,
I'm
definitely.
like, yeah, welcome to our world, Mr. Penn.
No, like I said, once I hang with you now, look, haters that don't understand the vision are not bad. Like I said, they part of the game. I was permanently suspended off Twitter, and from there I started doing a bit of research into other prominent names that have been suspended and banned. People like Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam can't get social media pages because of some of the pro-black sentiments that he has. People like Dr. Umar Johnson, there's certain platforms that don't allow his content to be shared. Andrew Tate has become the most famous person who's been banned off a lot of platforms. Jordan Peterson, as a lecturer as well, I think of philosophy and psychology, he's had his Twitter account permanently suspended. And now it follows on the same train with Kanye West has had his Instagram account restricted. You know, a restriction is not a suspension or a ban, but it means he can't post, he can't comment, etc. So he went to comment on Twitter and Elon Musk was like, welcome back, my friend. Elon Musk, I think, is making another bid for Twitter, by the way. But Kanye West has been restricted apparently for anti-Semitic comments. He was saying something about an ex-presidential advisor. I think it's Jared Kushner, who is Jewish. I, at some point, was suspended off Facebook because I posted a picture of Adolf Hitler with a quote next to him about tell the lie, keep it simple, say it over and over, and people eventually believe it. It's just a popular quote. It's his. You know, we can't say it's someone else's. He's deemed a dangerous person, according to Meta, which is the company that owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, amongst other companies. And for that, I was suspended. Whatever Kanye said, I don't even know if I speak about Jewish people or whatever, but because Mark Zuckerberg is a Jewish guy, I can only imagine that their algorithms have been built in such a way that anything that seems to sound sort of, you know, puts you on their blacklist or on their red list. It was just a reminder that these platforms have their own agendas because we can speak legal and illegal, and nothing that we're saying is illegal. Nothing that we're saying is fundamentally immoral, but it speaks against maybe a certain group that is not happy. These are not our platforms, and I said this last week. It would be nice if we could revive Mixit. It would be nice if we could create our social media platforms. Kanye is very rebellious, very aggressive. When you speak of MOFAYA, when you speak about Steve Jobs, when you speak disruption, Kanye West is right out there. He was pulling a DJ Spoo back in the day, jumping on award shows and saying something to the crowds out there. His partnership with Adidas is currently under review as well because of certain things he said about his relationship with the CEO and the company and how he feels he doesn't have control, or he doesn't have as much control as he wants. He's just killed or just ended his relationship with Gap. And mind you, these relationships with Adidas and Gap were roughly between $3 to $5 billion US worth. And he got on an interview with Nightlife. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen it.
So 2013 became a very famous meme and a very famous clip. You ain't got the answers, Sway. You ain't got the answers. Where Sway Calloway was basically saying to Kanye, if you want to launch a clothing line, why don't you do it yourself? If Abo Nike and these guys won't give you a platform. And Kanye shaded Sway, I don't even know your clothing line. you're not known. You know, he was basically saying we need these platforms. And he went and he partnered with Adidas and he became their biggest partner probably in history with the Yeezys. Made a lot of money, but today he's saying, but I don't have control. I can't pick colors, I can't pick designs, I can't even pick pricing. Doesn't make sense. But it's because, again, it's not his mother's house. It's not Donda's house. You know, it's the German's house. The Adidas family, who's the brother of the guy who launched Puma as well. And it's just a reminder that some of these platforms are not yours. And on Nightline, Kanye was like, I know people are not going to like it, but maybe Sway had the answers. You know, and him saying that is basically telling us that there's a chance that he's going to look to start doing things his own way. He's going to look to not partnering or creating a beverage energy drink with an established, but doing his own thing, as difficult as it may be, you know, and saying, look, at some point, what I'm not sure of, because business is very much about timing and strategy. Should Kanye have started when Sway said it in 2013, which would have been very, very difficult?
Yeah.
He would have grown slowly, etc. Or was it good for him to partner with big brands so that he could prove that, you know, I can actually move units, and now is actually potentially the right time? It's almost like Elon Musk amasses this huge following on Twitter, and once he has a huge following, then he says, let me bid for Twitter. Or if I'm not bidding for Twitter, let me now build my own social media platform, because I know my followers will jump on there and I won't be starting something from scratch. So that's just an interesting thought for me. But I have a conspiracy theory that the social media platforms, the biggest ones, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I found out from a lady that I do business with now that she's been banned off WhatsApp. I didn't even know that was possible.
Sure.
She sent me screenshots. These platforms have agendas, and there's obviously major shareholders. There's obviously big people that fund them. YouTube probably being another one. I've heard stories of certain algorithms pick up certain keywords that when you say them, they kind of throttle your reach now of your video. I've had 2 videos taken down. At some point I was speaking about COVID. I was reporting something that was in the news, but it was taken down. I wasn't even disputing the virus at all. There was another one where I was speaking about homosexuality. It wasn't hate speech, it wasn't homophobic, but they decided from there to remove it. There are elite people who pay a lot of money in advertising, who are major shareholders, and they obviously have agendas. And these agendas are to pacify the majority of the world and get them to behave in a certain way. Again, I have to state, this is a conspiracy theory from me. And I believe they are identifying and isolating powerful voices that shift or shake the minds of the agreeable masses. Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, maybe a Joe Rogan, who they failed to cancel, Dave Chappelle, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Dr. Umar Johnson, Malcolm X, even though he's passed on, Tupac Shakur, and other people here in this country.
Khalid Muhammad.
You know, Khalid Muhammad. I think these platforms are happy to get rid of those voices because they know they're dangerous. Their content goes viral, which in your head you'd think, but this is a good thing for the platform. The platform is being promoted. But if the bigger agenda is not viral videos, but it's to create, Facebook has 2 billion users. We need these 2 billion users to abide by a certain belief. Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan Experience speaking about how during the elections, I think with Trump, there was certain information that they were shadow banning that was not getting out there because it wasn't politically correct. And he was basically confessing that they have the tools to make sure that certain agendas go out there and certain agendas don't. And if it means canceling an Andrew Tate, canceling a Jordan Peterson, canceling potentially a Kanye West, maybe an Elon Musk, so be it. For me, again, like I said last week, the challenge now is we can complain, kick and scream and whine and Kongolo says, done, whatever. Or you can break away and create a COPE. You can break away and create a patriotic alliance. You can break away and create an ATM. You can break away and create an EFF. You know, you can whine forever. And look, the whining could help. Or you can be like, you know what? Let's do our own thing. And I think now is the most ripe time to create our own things. They're not going to be big, but we need them. Sway had the answers. And if these platforms don't respect you, you need to create your own platforms. We've got the internet. It's not easy. It requires billions of rands to get data warehousing, to keep storage of everyone's data, to keep running, to get coders, to make sure the algorithms, to make sure people are reviewing, to make sure it's in line with the constitution, to make sure that the site is not crashing, to make sure your site is not being hacked. Because you can only imagine, you create like a South African Facebook. I'm not saying Facebook would do it, but Facebook loyalists will want to hack your account and destroy it. Or some of their shareholders who know that you're going to be eating their breakfast. You know what I mean? So I think this is the time for us to create our own alternative platforms. And Kanye might potentially be the next victim or casualty of this online social media war. But again, if you want to be the next DJ Sbu, if you want to be the next Kanye West, it's going to require you to rebel and to be disruptive.
It also happened to Trump. Trump went on to start Truth Social. I don't know how far Truth Social is, but at some point I heard that it was estimated to be worth about $1 billion. They raised a lot of money. They were about to launch, I think it was early this year. I don't know what has happened to that. But you also have got other people, creatives, who've created alternatives. Even the very same platforms that are doing well right now, at some point, they came in as an alternative. They came in as a game changer.
Yeah.
You need to remember companies like Apple that are big today, companies like Spotify or maybe Sony, whatever they are, at some point they were on a race to become the major player in the game. They were not the only companies, you know. There were a whole lot of others competing with them, but you know, they won that race and they became Apple, you know. Same as all these other companies. But then you also find youngsters. There's a youngster from Canada who's created an alternative or competition to YouTube, and it's called Rumble.
Yeah.
Rumble's doing well. Rumble's growing like crazy, but I've just heard that I don't know if there are current investors that he's speaking to, or there is a current deal that he's just done with investors coming on board. And every time, whoever pays the bill calls the shots. And especially if they take a majority ownership of your company. At some point when you're a small player, you want to become a big player. And to become a big player, you need capital raising, or you need money funded into this thing. And it depends where you're going to get that money.
It's a fact.
It depends. No,
okay.
It depends where you're going to get that money. And then at some point, we have heard a lot of people speaking about companies like Vanguard, companies like BlackRock, who have bought, you know, major shareholdership in a lot of companies and minority shareholdership in a lot of companies. So much so that right now, they are the two most biggest companies in the world, together with State Street. You know, so when you are a creative, you want money to fund your idea so it can grow and become a Rumble, so a Rumble can grow and become a YouTube competitor. But when you're hearing of the Rumble owner getting investors, it's good that it's growing, but who are those investors? At the end of the day, won't Rumble end up becoming just like another YouTube? You know what I mean? Because it might just be the same people behind
pulling the strings.
You know, who are going to buy your Rumble. Same people who are going to come and invest in your Ekasi social.
Yeah.
You know, for you to turn your Ekasi social into another Facebook, you're going to need some, investments, and you're going to raise money. Where is that money going to come from? Aren't you also going to be diluted and captured at some point? Because at the end of the day, you are also an entrepreneur. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, you ask those things and you think like, so clearly these elites, all these decades, it's been a plan to own everything all over the world. And, you know, so anything else that sort of pops up, even if it's our own creativity, let's say it's abantu abamnyama. Ubani ozoyikhulu, ubani ozoyifanda, ubani ozofaka leyo mali, ubani wakuphi. And how are they pulling the strings? And, you know, even with South African politics, you know, there was a time when we would get into those conversations of who's funding our political parties, who's behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
And sometimes it's the same people behind different parties.
So it's an interesting conversation, but I do agree youngsters and creatives out there shouldn't stop. They should continue to create. We should continue to aspire to make a change, to break the chain, to change the world. And shout outs to Sway for seeing it back then, to own your own means of production.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Jay Prince, who came together with Jermaine Dupri, who came together with Dr. Dre, who came together with Damon Dash and Jay-Z back in those days. And there's another one that I'm missing, in Diddy. They were coming together to form their own first black independent hip-hop label. This is back in the day. I think it was in the 90s, if not the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And somehow that was also broken up. It didn't happen, it didn't succeed. But the industry and the people who were following hip-hop at the time when we were kids were hoping that there was going to be an independent record label. From when I started my music industry with TK, we've always wanted to be independent. This rhetoric that I'm on of us owning our own things and being independent, I've always been like that. From when we started TS Records, I've always been independent with TK. At some point, it happened even in the country. Kalawa wanted to do it, with 999 wanted to do it at some point. I think 999 at some point did. Shout out to Grootman Arthur. I think it did attempt. I think it went on for a few years. I don't know what happened after him distributing his own music. You remember music, guys, wasn't as streamed as it is now. At some point, it was physical. It was cassettes and CDs. And obviously back in the day, vinyls. But I think in the days of Grootman Arthur, it was the CDs. But somebody that I know who did it so well and who sold hundreds and thousands of albums, went multiple gold and multiple platinum many times. And I think he did it for over a decade, if not his entire career. He's a Grootman called Simbizu Big Fish, Obabsipho Makhabane.
Jeez.
Yes, he worked with Mkhukhu Mhlaba.
Yeah.
Mkhukhu Mhlaba is one of the iconic gospel singers in South Africa.
Definitely.
Big Fish, Grootman to Mr. Sipho Makhabane from Mpumalanga. I think from Eswatini or Mpumalanga, I'm not sure. But the Grootman did it. Grootman had the blueprint. Grootman had his own music distribution company. He was distributing his albums himself. He didn't have any middlemen. I don't know how they were doing it. But at some point, we got a chance to know how he was doing it because he brought us to the table, myself and TK. And for about a year or two, we worked with him. And we learned how he was distributing for himself. And we partnered up. I think about 2 or if not 3 of TS Records albums or 4 were self-distributed. But it's a lot of work. So I would understand
why you outsource
when at that point when Kanye West would say things like house way, you know, we don't have this system.
Yeah.
These people have had it all along and it's already set up. It's just for us to plug into it. And maybe at some point when we are big enough, we'll go and do it on our own way. I still do believe that we can do it. We have to come together, but it's a long-term vision and it needs partnerships and it needs working together because you can't do it alone. But it is possible. You can work with other people also, learn how they're doing it, grow your brand, and at some point when you think or you feel you're big enough to go at it on your own, you can do that. Or you can just continuously partner with people and work with other people. Maybe you don't feel the need to have a situation where we're owning our own. Sometimes we can own our own, but you know, ultimately it boils down to money. We own our own and they come back here and they put a check of $100 billion US. What are you gonna do?
I've got so many thoughts. I don't even know if I should share them.
Share them, bro. What are the other shareholders going to say? If you're saying, no, we want to keep it black, but here's a $100 billion check on the table. And you built this thing for like maybe 13 years. But our chance is pro-African. But check. 100 billion US. That time, I'm a shareholder and my 20-something. Million vote. Let's hear you, Mr. P.
So the first thought I had when you were speaking about Apple and competing is the fact that Nokia was the leader. I don't even know if they were leader. Motorola at some point was big. Nokia at some point from Finland looked like it was going to monopolize the market forever. Then RIM came with the BlackBerry phone. And then Samsung came, and then Apple came, and then Apple and Samsung started arm wrestling. Before Facebook became big, I don't know if you remember, some of us were on MySpace.
I remember very well, yeah.
There was a platform called
MySpace
High Five.
Yeah, you remember High Five?
Jeez.
You've been on these internet streets.
I'm saying this because for the kids that are listening to be like, but Baba, Facebook is too big. And I'm like, there were companies that were too big at some point. But there were new players that came and ate them for breakfast. So
and it seems like only yesterday RIM was big, eh?
Come on.
You remember we're on BlackBerry.
BIS.
BBM. Is it? It was BBM, ne?
It was BBM.
Our WhatsApp
Messenger.
those days was BBM, ne? BBM was big and it seems like yesterday, bro.
It was yesterday. And BIS 59 rand. Unlimited internet, Baba. Even though I load forever. 60 rand, Baba. For BIS. So people should not be scared of that. Of disrupting and saying, how do I compete with Red Bull? They've got billions of dollars. It's like, Baba, Red Bull and I was competing with whoever existed at the time. So don't ever feel like MOFAYA is not worthy. You know, that's the first thought. The second thought was this thing you're saying about the people with their agendas. There's a great interview. I think I've mentioned it on many platforms. Chamath Palihapitiya, who was an executive at Facebook, has an interview at Stanford University.
It's a dope interview, that one. Guys, go
Very
check
dope.
it out.
Very dope. Chamath Palihapitiya is a dollar billionaire.
And shut up, before Podcast and Chill starts at 3 o'clock, after this episode, go check that interview out. It's too dope, too dope.
He speaks about how everyone tries to be unique and original. And he's like, that's rubbish. How you want to advance in life, at least from a monetary perspective, is you must copy very well. So if you look at, let's say, a Facebook, they were copying what a High Five MySpace did and they improved. When Twitter came out, that's when Facebook came with their status update. They didn't have that before. When Instagram came, or when Snapchat came out with their sort of stories, because Facebook had bought Instagram, they started with the stories, and then they brought the stories to Facebook, then they brought them to WhatsApp. Like, they keep incorporating what's best. So copy what works. Even when it came to the Reels. I don't know if it was because of the TikTok influence.
It was.
But these short video...
Reels are copied from TikTok.
Yeah.
Stories were copied from, what is this other one?
In Snapchat.
Snapchat.
Yeah. So...
Yeah, because they tried to buy Snapchat. Snapchat said no. It's like, okay, cool, I'll go create
we'll
my
copy
own.
your thing. So now there's Reels on Facebook, on Instagram. It's like, copy what works. So Chamath is saying, just be a good copier. He says, copy and then become world-class and a master at whatever it is you're copying. So let's say I want to be a rapper. I must be a combination of Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z, Eminem. If I can copy them to the T, and that's where you get kids like, there's this colored kid.
Oh, Joyner Lucas.
Joyner Lucas.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got it. Joyner Lucas.
Sure.
You can see that the kids have studied the game intensely. Rhyme scheme, lyrics, flow, whatever. So become a good copy. And he says, what happens once you become a master is the people that run the world, 150 men, he says, they will hear about you. It's going to use a silly example. I'll use the silly examples. Become a good copier, make enough noise so that you catch the attention of a DJ Spoo, of a Rob Hersoff. Who's this kid? Why is everyone sharing them on my WhatsApp? Who is this? Those people at the top will then invite you to the table because they're interested. You're interesting. Everyone's talking about you. We've seen your TikToks. And he says, once you get to the table, you must then earn your right to stay at the table by adding value. So what is Penal doing to help push MOFAYA? What is Penal doing to help push the Hustlers Corner? What is Penal doing to add value in DJ Spoo's life? So Spoo's like, oh, he's not just a gimmick. I want to keep this kid around. I like him. Rob is like, I like Pen. You know, he can help me speak to the youth or whatever. And then once you get there, he says it's then up to you to cement your seat at the table. And once you've cemented your seat, you've had, like Kanye West. Kanye started with sampling when he got into the game with College Dropout. He was sampling, he was bringing on features of some of our favorite rappers, and we liked him. It was good music. And then over time, he started then bringing his original ideas, which he had in his back pocket, with about 808s and Heartbreaks, Yeezy, and some of these other albums. Once you're there, you bring your unique ideas, and then you, now that you're at the table, can start opening the door for other people that are like you. That's when you start bringing like Abo Virgil to design. That's when you start bringing Ivan Jasper to design. That's when, if you're doing maybe podcasts, you start bringing Zamalek Giza, who may have never had a platform anywhere else. Who would have thought, let me interview, why, for what? Now all of a sudden it's a thing, and. So his whole thing is be a good copier, get the attention of the people at the table, add value when you get there. Once you're cemented at the table, start bringing alternative people in. So what you're saying about shareholders is, yes, they will come and offer you guys a lot of money. And you almost cannot fight it. You'll kind of have to take it. Your partners are going to want their payday, whatever. Get in and sit at the table. Let them come in. Let them dictate and open up this platform to the world. When Peter Thiel was telling Mark Zuckerberg and Parker, the Napster guy, whatever his name is, Sean Parker, when he was telling them, I can put you on 5 continents. You're like, hey, keep your ideas back pocket because they don't want them. But slowly but surely, to open the tabs here and there. When there's like woke content, be like, hey guys, but you ask. Because you've got a long-term strategy of, this is the only way these kids will get here. Now, I think there was an issue with the algorithm. We're sorry. You know, because you know what you're trying to do. Because if a Zamalek Giza, if a Credo Mutwa, if a Nkulunzingiza, if Ukokus Koten, if other people are getting that spotlight, even when the system has shut them down and rotate, you've given them enough of a platform to go and build on the side. And people won't know that you might be the one that's funding them on the side, Ganshi. And Uchamat says we need more people. And he says, my worldview may not be right, but it is mine. And these other 150 guys have got their worldview, which is probably oppressive to you and your people. And they don't give a flying fuck how you feel. That they don't like Black Lives Matter, that they don't care about wokeness, that they don't want to empower black kids. It's their worldview. If white supremacy is their worldview, so be it. So he's saying whatever your worldview is, it could be Pan-Africanism, can be black consciousness, it can be the Africans in diaspora, whatever it is, it's your worldview, but you need to get to that table. And once you get to that table, you can then start controlling the resources, the money. And once you can control a considerable amount of money, you choose Patrice Motsepe, I want to fund the EFF, I want to fund the ANC. I like Lentwanu Vuyo Zungula with ATM. I think him 500,000. I like what Gaten McKay because you control resources and you have network. Now with the resources argument, when you speak Vanguard and BlackRock, PIMCO, I don't know if it's Aramco there in the Saudi Arabia. I worry because it all boils down to resources, but we've quantified resources as money. And as long as we're chasing money, we're not going to win. So sooner rather than later, we're going to need to find a value system outside of money. Cryptography and cryptocurrencies are a great alternative. But, and I've said this to you and Great Chabesi as well, that I'm convinced to what you're saying, it's always going to be the same players moving in the circles. That the same players are going to want to capture crypto as well.
I think they've started.
Yeah. But in that process, there's a lot of new kids.
On the crypto space, we call them whales.
Whales. So the great Chabesis may not have gotten a platform just going for normal fiat. So now he becomes someone. Even if they've captured crypto, they've given birth to a gray. They've given birth to Ethereum.
Vitalik Buterin.
Vitalik. You know, they've given birth to those people.
Somebody was pissed off the other day. You said Vitalik Buterin looks like an alien. Was it you saying
He does look like an alien. I'm going to say it again today.
Have you ever seen an alien?
I've seen aliens on TV. He looks like aliens on TV.
Oh, according to Alien Nation. Guys, remember when we were young, there used to be a drama on TV called Alien Nation.
Anyways, it was a joke, man. No diss to Vitalik.
Sure.
We're very inspired by him. But if we're speaking, get to the table, the Bitcoin crypto guys got to the table. They copied well. They've moved in a certain way. Same with the Silicon Valley guys, the Mark Zuckerbergs. They were students. You know, if you look at Travis at Uber, if you look at Jack Dorsey at Twitter, they got to the tables. And yes, now the social media is being captured. I can say it as a conspiracy that I own. It has been captured by the same people that are bringing back the same agendas, but they've given us new superheroes. And I'm saying, let's keep doing that. We need new value systems, new money systems, whatever they may be, whether it's in Nkomo, whether we're creating our own currency, whether we want to trade in Amakane, MOFAYA. Eventually they will get captured, but new kids will come up in that space. And that's all we'll ever just keep trying doing. Hollywood is having more representation, more Black, Latino, Asian people there. Some of those people over time will behave exactly like white supremacists, but some of them are going to bring a different flavor. And sometimes that's good enough for now. And then the last thing I wanted to say, which was a thought that came up, was businesses are not meant to last forever. It's a misconception that a lot of us are taught. Relationships are not meant to last forever. The ones that do outlast, the Coca-Colas of this world, the Microsoft of this world, we applaud them. And it's because Samsung, maybe a Facebook now, it's because they've learned how to pivot.
Yeah.
They've learned, Coca-Cola will know the right time when to buy MOFAYA. You know, and that's what's going to keep them relevant. The right time to buy Kingsley beverages. Or offer, or maybe decide to fight back, because business is war. It's not,
I think they've tried,
not a friendly match.
I think they've tried more than once to buy Kingsley.
Yeah, it's not a friendly matchy business. They'll try and buy you out, and if you're not willing, they will try to destroy you. But they know, and businesses have to pivot, and they have to copy as well. We saw with the Red Bull promoters in this country, social media, that they've been biting MOFAYA's sound, Mavulika and Udlitiko. We saw that with Red Bull. We've seen it with other platforms that are trying to bite ideas. That it's what they do.
Like everybody's speaking about hustling now. But it's cool though, because they always say imitation is the biggest form of flattery.
Of flattery, yeah. we're going to need alternative value systems, man. But businesses are not meant to live forever. We appreciate those that do. A lot of them have to go through a lot of turmoil. If you survived British colonization and apartheid and the new democracy, it means that every different stage, you probably had British elites that own shares. When the Afrikaners came in, you got Afrikaners to take a chunk. When the BEE, ANC guys came in, you gave them a chunk. Anglo-American is probably the best example of that in this country. They last because they're willing to bring in the new guys. They're not angry. They fight where they need to fight. They play dirty where they need to play dirty. They're welcoming of fresh blood where they have to. They're welcoming of maybe a black voice if they need to, etc. But generally, businesses are not meant to last forever. And if your business lasts 5, 10, 20 years, kudos. If it dies, just make sure that the death is not too painful. You know, you're not losing your wife and your house and your whatever. But please know that that's what it is. Businesses are meant to die. That was my last point. So the Nokias, the Blackberries, the whatevers, they die. The high fives, the MySpaces, they die. I wouldn't be surprised when these businesses die that some of the biggest talent in those companies today sits at Google, sits at YouTube, sits at Facebook. So even when your business dies, you must be like, hey, business la failure, but today I sit on the board of whatever. Today I've worked with these guys because as much as the business died, it was no longer relevant. The market wanted something else. I've always had something unique. And that's why I was at Nokia. We didn't do well. Then RIM came and sourced me for BlackBerry. And today I work for Apple. So be able to move as well in your life.
And also you'll find other players like the young people of today. Shout out to everybody that is using the internet to empower themselves. And especially those after empowering themselves or while they're empowering themselves and seeing a way out and seeing a formula that works. They're selfless about sharing their information and knowledge. I was interviewing an amazing young kid at some point. She used to be a young one working at Urban Brew. You know, she was just a young person at the time at Urban Brew back in those days. We met around then. I think she was 19. Right now, she's become Naki Mitsa Pusher.
Sure.
You know, BA Pusher. I was interviewing her last week, Wednesday. Go check it out. It's an episode here on the Hustler's Corner. She makes money online, teaches people how to make money
I've
online.
watched her videos because of your referral. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
She's incredible. She's now becoming a millionaire. You know, teaching other people how to become millionaires.
Yeah.
Young as she is, doing what she loves, right? And she does a lot of educational content, just like Chief and Abu Marshall Malab. And there's a whole lot of others as well that we also still have on the platform. Then you'll find that generation that takes advantage of the revolution and empower themselves.
Yeah.
And I like those that are not only empowering themselves, but they're empowering others. You'll find kids that come from the system that understand it to go start their own things and they're succeeding, the MacGyvers of this world.
Yeah.
You find us who come from the system and, you know, we are creating our own way in this internet thing. We are surviving.
Yeah.
And there's people like Penuel there. There's just these voices and this internet era is just ushering in, as exactly to your point, ushering in just a new generation of other people who are now using the system to sort of emerge themselves. But they sort of come from the original system. You are speaking about generational wealth and that business are not meant to last forever. Somebody else can argue that point, you know, and say, my one, I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, our family one, we wanted to. And I love people that start businesses and as they grow, they get married, or some of them, they start businesses with their partners. I was invited to speak at Portia M's Christmas celebration and awards giving ceremony. I think it was end of last year. And I'd like to say thank you very much to Mrs. Portia M and her husband. They started the business together.
Yeah.
Right now, it's becoming one of the biggest cosmetic companies in South Africa.
Yeah.
The numbers that I was seeing there as they were giving out those awards to their team members, their team leaders, they're talking M's, bro. And I'm like, yeah, this is a black-owned company, bro.
Yeah.
I was so inspired, you know?
Porsche M is a roaring success.
Amazing success. I was so inspired that this is a couple, you know, who are building a family business. We were speaking a little bit earlier on about my trips to Limpopo, doing a lot of trips, obviously, because our business is structured such that we are B2B. We'll sell to other businesses, who then in turn sell to other businesses, who then in turn sell to the actual consumer, to you guys, right? And around this time, our trade is about to close. We don't sell all the way into December. But yes, we sort of open a little bit the first week or so of December to sort of, get rid of those last sales or get some of those sales that happened to us. But if you have not made your money by now, I say by Black Friday, then we're done for the year, right? So around this time, we do a lot of activations. We've got like teams all over the country, different provinces, who are every day, well, not every day per se, but every week doing activations at different wholesalers and cash and carries and a lot of our clients. That's what I do as well. And some of them I appear to go give my team support. And that's what I was doing last week. The roadshow was visiting our existing clients.
What's an activation?
An activation is when your team comes there wearing the branded merchandise from the company, branded maybe gazebos, and they give potential consumers a consumer experience of how your drink tastes like.
Sample.
Yeah, a sample. This is MOFAYA Ginger, this is MOFAYA Original. MOFAYA is a South African brand. It's a brand new company. We're doing well. It's from local. We're supporting local things. It's one of the best. It's one of the fastest growing. This is a ginger flavor. This is the orange flavor. Taste it, with the cups. And so they're giving the consumers an experience.
Beautiful. It's almost like a retail business version of door-to-door campaigning.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Right? But because a lot of these people that are coming to buy, remember as I'm saying that we supply a lot of wholesalers and cash and carries. They're not coming there to buy a single MOFAYA can. They're coming there to buy in bulk. Because a lot of them own shops and stores and filling stations and spaza shops. So they're coming there to buy in bulk. So potentially this person, you might convert them into becoming a MOFAYA client. And just tasting once, they might go in there and just for today, they might continue buying however many cases of their current favorite drink, energy drink that they buy. But maybe they might, just because of that tasting, take one case of MOFAYA.
Sure. Just to your samplisha, their own thing.
And then they see how I put this thing on my store, it's sold out within a few days or maybe the same day. The next time she comes, it's no longer one case now, it's 3 cases. Moves to 10 cases, moves to a pallet.
Come on.
That person might end up becoming a truck customer who buys in trucks every month. And we've seen that happen, but just from a simple tasting. So you can convert a customer.
Activations
so those
are key.
Very important. Extremely important. They're more important even than an actual TV ad. TV ad, yes, captures the masses, but that experience of the consumer tasting the product and being convinced. Now it's even worse when there's a smooth there who's the creator of the product who's there. Then it gets to close the deal because then you get a chance to take pictures. You're hearing it from the horse's mouth. You're seeing the experience and the enthusiasm, and it's sort of in your mind. It says,
Sure.
And then when you are inside that store, you sort of you pass maybe the product, and then you sort of and that's why you'll find companies that'll even pay these wholesalers and these retail giants for space to advertise their brands. You'll find like big posters of whatever company that is doing a special maybe that time. There's lots of their products next to the till.
You pay for that?
You pay for that space.
Jeez.
We call them gondola ends.
Okay.
The ones that are next to the tills, right? And there's also those, not a billboard per se, but those big signs that are next to the tills where people queue. That's where the store has got the most traffic.
Sure.
That's why a lot of companies, they don't mind paying the store owner so that they can get visibility around the aisles. Not necessarily the aisles at the back, but the front ends. That's where you get to sell the most. Because people have made that decision, they've shopped, they're now here to pay. But at the gondola end, they can see your product.
Beautiful.
They can let me just throw this in as well. Those types of things. So that's what I was doing in Limpopo, but then it so happened that the client, by the way, shout outs to that client, they're called Pramjeez and Sons Cash and Carry.
Okay.
So they're in Zanin, they're in Limpopo, they're in Zanin, they're in Louis Trichardt. We had great activations. They've got a lot of businesses around there. But what excited me was the fact that they were turning 80 years old.
80?
80.
Do you know that's not normal?
It's not normal.
I once saw an article which said something like, I don't know if it was Fortune 500 companies, but something like less than 5% make it past 50 years. Talking the biggest companies in the world. In this country, when Johan Rupert was speaking to Kevin Curry, was explaining that his father's business, which is Remkro now, it was Rembrandt then, and another company, through the apartheid era, only 2 of those companies survived on the JSE.
Crazy. It's exactly what I was saying to you earlier, that for there to be an Apple, there were a lot of other companies doing similar stuff that Apple was doing.
Yeah.
But Apple became a winner in that race. And
Shout out to that family, man.
We know them as Apple. So
80 years is crazy.
Yeah, I was speaking to the leader there, and I just had a chance to sit down with him in the boardroom. just before the activation in the morning, and we're just having chats about how they started their business. He was just telling me that it was started by his great grandfather, and then he was just telling me, as it was passed down generation to generation. His great grandfather made sure that even from when the company was registered, it was called Pramjees and Sons. And it's not only that company. I think you guys know a lot of companies that are what and Sons.
And Sons, yeah.
It could be and daughters. But basically from when they were starting this business, they knew that I'm starting a family business. So it's always best to start a family business as opposed to, just your business. Yes, maybe as time goes, you might convert it and feel to bring your family in. And obviously it depends on how you structure the business. And then it kept passed down from generation to generation, all the way down to him. He says he's the 5th generation. And he says they're doing very well. And I was so inspired, bro. For me, it wasn't even just about the activation. I was like, wow, a South African company that is turning 80 years old. It means this generational wealth or this generational business thing that we keep talking about, it's possible.
It is possible.
Here's an example. I was so inspired, bro. So it was really a great trip in Limpopo. So thank you very much to the communities of Louis Trichardt. Thank you to Zanin. Guys, we had a great time. And thank you to Pramjees and Sons, Cash and Carry for stalking MOFAYA. Guys, some of you guys who are not working, who are young, who want to sell MOFAYA, you are in your teens or you are older, you probably have got vans, you know how hot it is, it's hot.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful also.
Askaya again, even hard in summer, but it's very hot.
Very hot. And for Tina, people who sell beverages, we get excited because that's when our sales go up. So go buy MOFAYA, guys, go sell it, go make yourself some money. But not only MOFAYA, I think this story should inspire all of us that there are South African companies that have been passed down from generation to generation. And I understand and agree with you when you say not every business is meant to last that long.
Yes.
But I think, Tina, as Abantu Abamnyama, we've got a duty, number one, to mentally deal with our people to start looking at business as opposed to just this narrative, yomsebenzi kuphela. But at the same time, I think a lot of us need to be intentional about wanting to create generational businesses. Whether it's going to happen, you don't know your great-grandchildren if they're going to collapse the business, but want to make sure that while you are here, you play your part as well as you could, and you put systems, even with the lawyers or with your trust, to make sure that that wealth is passed on. And basically just do your best to empower to empower the family tree, let me put it that way, to go on.
That's
you
beautiful.
know what I mean?
I would love to interview and speak to some of these families that have generational businesses, because the business story is a huge story that we can always learn from, but there's always like other stories, because the business story is one aspect, but you can't build a business that lasts 80 years if your family story is not intact. So how is the family run?
Very good point.
Discipline, your religious beliefs or your spiritual beliefs. Where do you send your kids to school? What's happening to your kids after school? Do the kids know that there are systems? Do the kids know what the family vision is? We speak about China with 100-year, 500-year plans. Do you have a 100-year plan for your family? Do your kids know about it? Is it documented? So the family aspect and then the societal aspect. If they've been here for 80 years and the ANC is 28 years old, that means they were running during apartheid. What stories do they have about dealing with Amapon? What stories do they have dealing with black people? They are not a black African family. So what's their relationship been like with black people? You know, have they been working with certain politicians? Have they been working with activists on the ground?
How do you know they're not a black family?
I'm assuming, sorry, because Premji sounds like an Indian Muslim. So if they are, my apologies.
They're Hindu, yeah.
They're Hindu?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they are not black. I was just interested. I just had to throw
No,
it
it's
there.
fair. You know, it's interesting you say this, because the land audit in this country has land owned by demographics. You know, who owns how many white people own land, how many black, etc. They explain in the disclaimers and the abstracts and the explanation that a lot of what they call white-owned land or colored, the colored one is the most difficult one. They based it on surname. So if they see a surname like October, they'll assume it's a colored, but it might be a black person. If they see a surname like Van Wyk, they're going to assume it's a white landowner, but it might be a colored person, might be a black person. So it's interesting you say that. I made an assumption based on the surname, and I might be completely wrong. Trevor Noah. Oh, it must be a white guy. Aibo. Can't you no, it's not. So yeah, noxolo groot boom kind of situation. So yes, my apologies for that assumption, by the way. Their relationships with society at large, you know, and the stories they can tell us, and then the pivoting. People don't know the Samsung story, and I don't know how many generations they've been in, but they started off as a food retailer, selling noodles, selling fruits and vegetables. It's Samsung. You know, again, another plug, I think I've mentioned it before when we had a conversation. How big is Samsung? Is a YouTube video, you can go search it. How big is Samsung? You'll see the family history, the story, and look at what they're building today. Military weapons. They've built the tallest skyscrapers in the world. Outside of cell phones and electric appliances, they do vehicles, cars. They have their own hospitals.
Samsung does cars. I didn't know that.
They do cars and trucks. If you ever go to South Korea, it will blow your mind.
Wow, okay.
They have hospitals. They have banks. It's Samsung. Like, if you look at how big they are, they build ships, by the way. You know, kind of situation. So people must go check out how big is Samsung. It goes back to Lenta Tengish about pivoting. And I can only imagine, because shout out to another family I know. So I'm going to say shout out to the Jamaluddin family. Okay. They might be 3 or 4 generations deep, Indian Muslim in Newcastle. I know there's a big Amin family in Ladysmith. I know there's the Baruch family in Newcastle as well. I think they 2 or 3 generations deep. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot more. I know in Grahamstown when I was there, it was the Ranchard family. And these are Indian families, but there's black families. The Kaba family as well is known. The Gnene family is known. The Mutsipes, I think, are 2 or 3 generations now, because Ntwana Patrice is being more visible. There are many families that are moving in the same direction.
Klopi, doing a great job at Sundowns.
Amazing.
I know him from when he was at Ntwana, you know.
Sure.
Just to see him mature into the man that he's becoming. He used to be at Vets.
Shout out to his parents.
Yeah, shout out to the amazing parenting that they've had to do. Sorry, I disturbed you.
No, it's fine. But it's on the same tip. Like, there are people doing these things, and I'm saying the business story is one exciting story we must speak about. But I'm also fascinated in the
family.
What have your religions
structure
been? We used to be Muslim, now we're Christian, now we're Buddhist. No, my father used to live in this place. Some of the coolest stories, I'll speak about the Indian Muslims, some of the Greeks and Portuguese. So there's the Halamandares family of Taste Holdings, who started off with steers, got into Wimpy, Milky Lane. At some point, they had Tasha's, Mug and Bean. Fascinating story, immigrant story. So the immigrants, the Portuguese, the Greeks will tell you, my great-great-grandfather came here and opened a spaza shop. And then we came and we had a supermarket. My father opened a supermarket. And then when his Spa was looking for franchisees, Spa is big on it. I know Bidvest is big on buying family-owned businesses and family-run. They were looking for family-run businesses, and they came and they gave the spas to some of these families. And what those families have done with the Spa in building a shopping center where they now have tenants, your Peps, your Capitex, your KFCs, some of those families have diversified into maybe tenders as well. They've diversified into farming, because Mkhampe, they had a Yazi Corner Cafe.
Yeah.
You know, like who George Sombono's a chicken lick, and his father had I think it was a fuel station.
Yeah.
So they had a cafe at the back with Daiswa fried chips. And then those fried chips, some Zamban have to come from somewhere. So some of them end up getting into farming. We need our own chips. We need sunflower farming to make our own cooking oil. We need to have our own fish for our fish. And then they end up with brands. Like what happened to Chicken Licken? It was his father's cafe. He went to America. He got a recipe for chicken. It ended up becoming what Chicken Licken has become today. But those stories are fascinating.
That you've just mentioned, just to digress a bit, sorry. I just want to know if Natasha bought back Tasha's from Famous Brands.
Yes.
Or did she?
Yes. So Natasha Sideris, amazing. I think she's Greek. I apologize if she's not. I've met her before at the Tasha's in Hyde Park. Natasha Sideris and her brother, they founded Tasha's beautiful restaurant, makes amazing food. You can taste the love in the food. But she partnered with Famous Brands, and she was hesitant at the time because Famous Brands is about scaling.
Yeah.
How can we take your Wimpy and create 500 stores? How can we take your Fisherways? How can we take your Debonaires and scale? And she was like, I'm not really into the scaling business. But they were like, look, we're going to try something unique with you. We're not going to have a lot of stores. We're going to have a few, and each of them are going to have their own flavor and taste, and we'll allow you to have your personal touch at each of them. So she'd go around the different stores during the week, visiting them. Natasha. At some point, I don't know the detail because I didn't read the article, but at some point she then bought back because clearly maybe their vision and her vision were maybe not aligned anymore. I know she probably did that deal because business is done, by the way, between human beings. That's another important thing. We can speak about the Premji and Sons. Family business, they've got systems. Business is done between human beings. And at every generation, at every level, the children, the grandchildren need to have good relationships with people out there. So I have a feeling Natasha signed on the Famous Brands deal because of the CEO, Kevin Hedderwick. Amazing CEO for the family. He helped them scale in an insane way. It may be that Kevin Hedderwick had a different vision. He left. And then Natasha was like, look, Kevin is maybe not here anymore. Look, this is not a true story. I'm just speaking hypothetically that it could have happened, that it was a relationship. The person I was dealing with, let's say you have a relationship with one of the children, Baga Premji, and when they leave or when they pass on, your daughter now is like, no, but we used to, and the next child is like, we've got a different vision for the family. We no longer maybe want to do wholesale, we maybe want to do something else. It's like, okay, the relationship will have to end or it'll have to change. We'd now like to actually be partners in MOFAYA kind of situation. And as with Red Bull, the white gentleman who bought into the business, it was a Thai energy drink. It wasn't called Red Bull. He came in, they created a separate brand which was going to go global to create Red Bull. So the last part I was going to say was this, that when business is between humans, but how you stay alive sometimes is also not keeping the business name. We speak about the Rothschilds, who were the kings of formalizing banking and money, and how today they seem to have disappeared. And part of that disappearance is because they've seen that our family catches so much heat that maybe it's best for us to hide behind, let's say, for example, a Vanguard, a BlackRock. It's not called Rothschilds and Sons, of which Rothschild, Itamala Kona also had 5 sons. If you look at Standard Oil with John D. Rockefeller, they had to break up in inverted commas into Standard Oil, I think, and Mobil and Exxon. I think so. You're like, oh, they broke them up. And you're like, okay, if you say so. If you look at Anglo-American has retained the name, but they've gotten so many different investors and stakeholders. Some of our BEE partners are in there, for an example. But if you look at a company like Rob Hersoff's grandfather, his grandfather and the Manel family with Anglo-Fal, at some point they decided to stay alive, we'll need to break up the business. So part of it was Anglo-Fal Engineering, which became Avenge. Part of it became Anglo-Fal Investments, which became AVI, of which Rob Hersoff's brother sits on the board. A part of it they gave to Patrice Motsepe, which became African Rainbow Minerals today. So they may own a stake, families. They sold.
Oh, okay.
Let's call it sold.
Okay.
Just for official purposes. But we'll call it gave in the sense of what the Guptas did with Umzwanele Manyi, with ANN7 and the New Age newspaper is they gave him the media company, and then there's something called vendor financing where they help them raise the funding to pay them back from the profits that the business is going to make. So by sold, the assumption is that but sometimes they give you the business and then the financing gets done after, sort of. But it's not that they gave it to him for free. No. Money did exchange hands. There was a transaction, etc. So he bought. They sold. The reason I was talking about gave is because they may still own a stake there in some way, whether they are minority investors or whatever the case may be. So sometimes for your business to stay alive, it requires a Coca-Cola. All of a sudden you're like, oh, MOFAYA is a Coca-Cola company. You know, maybe in the future, you know, because you're like, look, Coca-Cola tried to buy us. We said we're not interested. Things started getting a bit bad as a form of, as a form of protection money. I'm calling it protection money because that's how the mafia operates, but that's how big business operates. There's nice, clean legal terms for it. Because Anglo-American did it with Barney Bonato. They did it with Cecil John Rhodes. So did the Rothschilds and the Oppenheimers who funded Cecil John Rhodes. It's not called extortion and it's not called protection, but in effect, that's what it is. When the South African taxi industry got a stake in Rea Vaya, when, I love this family very much, when the Kaba family ended up getting into the metro buses in Durban with the Baruchs from Newcastle, Transnet, the buses, it's not extortion and it's not protection money, but in essence, you're like, look, e-coke is going to make our lives difficult. So we either partner with them and they have a stake, or we keep fighting and Klampi will end up losing the business. So sometimes your family has to pivot. And again, it's relationships. Your son your grandson, your granddaughter might end up marrying or dating someone in the Coca-Cola family, someone from Kingsley Beverages, and they end up merging. It's like, guys, it wasn't even like that. Yes, the business is here today, but it's because ingane at our conference and networking, zayihlezi ihlangana. Zagcina seyithandana, and here we are now. So sometimes the name also doesn't need to last, but the business will last, and the family will say, our family's been involved from here to. And if you look at some of the biggest families in this country, the Hollard family, which is the Enthovens, unknown, very rich, they invested in Nando's. Robert Brosen and Fernando Duarte. They invested in Nando's. They invested in Dostain's Auto and General and his insurance empire.
Group, the other companies.
Yeah. If you look at SAP and the guys, they invested in the Nando's guys. The Nando's guys invested in a gentleman called Carlo Gonzaga, who started with Scooter's Pizza and has built Taste Holdings, which brought Starbucks, Domino's. So you start realizing that some people have got the same fingers in certain pies because they would like to outlive and outlast. And sometimes it's not about me and my name. It's fine for Peter Thiel to be like, Mark Zuckerberg, here's some money, go build your thing. I'll be a shareholder and it's fine. Bill Gates will invest in Ubanbani, go do your thing. It can be your name and your family can become great. It can be a Shanduga, a Pembani, it can be a Mvela Panda, it can be a whatever. But if you start looking at the shareholders, like, but these are the same guys. And that family might have a small office, a Rose Bank, a Houghton, a Shale, and you're like, do you guys even have money in the office? Like, yeah, we look after 50 billion rand. Some of your favorite brands. Remcro is one of those, Johan Rupert. AVI is another one, if you look at their brands. Famous brands, as I said, Taste Holdings, some of these other companies. We speak about Vanguard, BlackRock, but even here, Bidvest, etc. So sometimes your family can stay relevant even if you no longer keep the name. But these stories become so fascinating because the business is one thing, but then there's like history. They'll tell you Richard Maponya was the one that drove Utatu Nelson Mandela with Ama PM, and he was the first BMW dealership. You're like, this is a fascinating story. So I'm always fascinated in those stories.
Coming from Tembisa, I can't speak about Umam Natasha where Tasha is without mentioning our hero, Ekasi. Every time when I give talks, I always say, Richard Maponya where it's Tembisa.
Yeah.
Umam Rita's one.
Boom, I know her.
You know Mam Rita?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a beast. She's a business giant, that one. She created Imbizo Chisanyama. Imbizo Chisanyama is a company that owns Busy Corner.
Yeah.
Busy Corner is in Tembisa.
Sure. Bengithi Busy Corner, Imbizo ngithi maybe it's not the same old lady.
No, it is the same.
Busy Corner, sure.
And it's grown. There's another one in Midrand, but there's another beautiful restaurant in Mall of Tembisa.
Beautiful.
Which is called Imbizo Chisanyama. I think it's the biggest restaurant at Mall of Tembisa. Beautiful restaurant. Been there a couple of times. But just what she's represented and how she started her business. Guys, go check out her story. Actually, I'd like to recommend you guys go read her book. I'll get her on the Hustlers Corner at some point. We'll bring her here. And her fascinating story of how she started that business is so amazing that it gives hope to a lot of other business owners who are starting right now, especially abo mama bathengisa sama plate emgwaqweni who are just literally starting small emgwaqweni estradini. She started like that, and just for her to have become the person that she's becoming, because she just keeps on growing and growing and growing. I just thought of her. I just can't be speaking about Umam Natasha or Tasha's without giving props to Umama Ekasi. I old lady silthanda kakhulu. Mam Ritazwane siyabonga mama. Siyabonga kakhulu ngeimfundiso and just the inspiration you poured out to the community of Tembisa. Nangomsebenzi omuhle enwenzayo to give back to the community and the hundreds of lives that you employ at all your establishments. So people like her, it's not only her. I mean, there's Abo Amakhurutman, Abo Sakumze, Soweto, been running that business successfully. I think it's over 10 years now. Maybe it's 20 years. Sakumze.
It's been a long time. Sakumze has been around for a while.
And it's successful.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of local businesses that we can use as examples like that. Having spoken about the retail space and what they would call the informal markets, cash and carries, I've just recently heard as well, I don't know if it's a rumor or it is a fact, that now the Devland Group, they're also a very successful cash and carry group or wholesale group. They're in the trading space as well. They're very big. By the way, I always speak about Devland when I talk about the MOFAYA story because they're one of the first people actually the first cash and carry that gave us a chance.
Beautiful.
They gave us a shot, and they were like, okay, no, after Ubongane, who's a younger brother to Uspiwe, Ubongane happens to be a minority shareholder also at MOFAYA. Yeah. Ubongane used to be driving our first van, delivering in MOFAYA. He used to go knock on Devlin's door. And a lot of times they rejected him. But eventually one day they said, okay, bring Sbu here. Maybe we might have a chat.
I like that.
I remember that first meeting. What an interesting meeting we had. We had a chat, myself and Sipiwe, my business partner. We planned for the meeting. Sipiwe couldn't come to the meeting. He said, no, you go. We had a great interview, a great meeting. And they were like, okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll give you guys a chance to put in some of your stock on consignment. If it doesn't sell, you must come pick it up.
But it's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah. We left, I think it was 1 pallet. He said, okay, deliver me 1 pallet by the end of today. I think that time they go Abuma 3 and Bavala 5.
You pressure.
Bring me 1 pallet today and let's see what happens. If it doesn't sell, guys, I'll give you guys 1 month. If it doesn't sell, you come pick up your product.
Yeah.
The pallet was done in 3 days.
Beautiful.
We got a call, asked for 5 more. The following week, Wednesday, I think it was around Thursday or Friday. Following week, Wednesday, that 5 pallet was gone.
Boom.
Asked for a truck. Till today, they are one of our biggest clients. So the Devlin Cash and Carry Group, thank you so much, because then they opened us up by introducing us to other families that trade as well in that space. I hear they've just acquired Ohlanga Springs. Now, I don't know if they've acquired the entire Ohlanga group, because Ohlanga as well has got a lot of cash and carries nationwide. They're huge. And it's also a family business, right? So I don't know if they've acquired the Ohlanga Cash and Carry, the trade, is it not trade port? The Springs one is called what? I forgot what the Springs one is called. But I've just heard through the grapevine, I don't know if it's a rumor, that they've just acquired the Springs Ohlanga. This is the Devlin Cash and Carry Group. So it's always nice to see these transactions that happen behind the scenes, because I also know even in black businesses, there's a lot of business people that do mergers and acquisitions behind the scenes without a lot of people's knowledge. And a lot of those deals, they don't even get publicized. But it's always nice to even, tune into shows like these and just get that type of information. I used to learn a lot about that type of info from a guy called Bruce Whitfield.
I know Bruce Whitfield.
Runs a show on 702. I don't know if he still does.
He does.
The Money Show.
Yes.
I haven't listened to the Money Show in a while. But yeah, I learned a lot from South African businesses through that 702 business show called The Money Show. So yeah, business is an interesting thing, and it's a sport. Once you love it, you love it. And then there's people like us who start from scratch, who are like entrepreneurs from scratch. And there's other people who are just investors, who see potential in other people's businesses and they give them a leg up. And that's what one would like to become in the future. I wouldn't want to see kids struggle the way we did to build our companies. And having spoken about local companies, before I hand it back to you, I just want to give a big shout out and props and congratulations to the Batu Group. I know it's not the Batu Group, it's Batu. And I don't want to give props to Theo as the leader. I know Theo is very selfless all the time and he works with people. I just want to say the Batu Group because of all the hard work they've done in building that business. And now it's given birth to a new baby.
I saw that.
Which is called Avenue Exchange.
Yeah.
If you guys check out Theo's 2 interviews that we've done, one here on Virtual Mkhukhu, we've also done one on the Hustlers Corner. He speaks about how he started. He used to sell perfumes. And today he's just opened up a luxurious perfume or cologne or cosmetics brand for the people. Affordable, but still very prestige.
Yeah.
And just how Theo has started and building Batu all these years and having seen him from the beginning to what he's becoming and giving birth to another new business now. It's a beautiful thing because there's the likes of Theo who are doing it in public.
Yeah.
And Likao did the same thing with the new, what does it call it? The clothing company.
Finesse.
Brand. Finesse, yeah. Finesse is the cosmetics, but there's also the clothing.
Oh, okay.
I think it starts with a D. Drip Group New Venture. Let me put it that way. Let me Google that. Sorry, guys, but we can't not...
I see so session, Baba.
Yeah, we have to... these are our brothers, man. We can't be... We know so well about overseas companies.
There's a kiddies clothing called Kiddies Republic.
There's Kiddies Republic as well, yes, that he spoke about that. But there's another one. I think it's Domain, Kiddies Republic and Drip Group.
Oh, like I was moving.
Aspana Machita, no Theo. And there's a lot of others behind the scenes that are pushing Amachita. And it excites me, bro, because it's just taking this level of entrepreneurship enthusiasm in the country to the next level. Yes, it's Kiddies Republic and the, come on, man. Let's see. Yeah. Domain. Domain. So Domain launched under the Drip Group, and Finesse launched under the Drip Group,
Sure.
and Kiddies Republic launched under the Drip Group.
Yeah.
But right now, last week, Theo just launched Avenue Exchange.
Yes.
And Theo is the founder of Phat.
Yeah.
So congratulations to all local entrepreneurs, business people that are doing their thing and inspiring the rest of us.
No, thank you very much to Theo. Thank you very much to Likao. Going a step back with Umam Rita Zwane, just want to send out a shout out to Max in Durban.
Yeah.
As well. Max's lifestyle's got a beautiful story, and there's always that picture that trends every now and then of how it looked before and how it looks now. Very sad, and these are some of the other stories we need to speak about. Mzoli's in Cape Town shut down. You know, I think in 2021.
That was sad. Yeah.
I think it's been taken over now. It's called Tease Lounge. But there are stories like that. And the reason we need to study those stories is to find out what went wrong, what mistakes to avoid. We used to have Ubaba that passed away here, I don't know how many years ago, Ubaba Umzito. Umzito also had the Shisanyama in Pram. He had one in town. I think he had in Pretoria. I think he had 5 shops at some point. And I remember when he passed on, I saw an article speak about how he left his family with debt and whatever, which means something in his systems weren't. I remember meeting him at Pushumka, you know, too lekker.
I still can't believe he's no longer around. But anyway, yeah.
We need to study some of those stories of amazing successes that ended up failing or closing down, and why that happened, so that we can also learn with our own children. Maybe some of the issues is the kids. There's itamela libizwa ngosiza kancane in Newcastle. Shango stairs, double story face brick in Newcastle when I was still a kid. Elokishini. To this day, this house is one of the most beautiful homes. Ekasi emadadeni. Why clears a overall. Because I eventually met Ukoko and we spoke, and I was like, what happened to the business? What I eat all zababa, we're selling it to the Chinese and other people. They're not really into business. So we just made sure so there's lessons to be learned there. Why did Mzoli's fail? Should become a case study. What happened to Mzito's should become a case study. You know,
and Mzito's son was always there, bro.
Yeah,
he grew up there. He ran Mzito's kitchen in the Tamala. He's when I heard with Tamala border and the business closed down because it was one of those businesses that I was also looking up to.
Yeah.
At some point, there was a potential partnership that we were working on, myself and my brother, Mr. Zibusiso Mkhwanazi. You know, one of the most amazing entrepreneurs.
Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar.
Come on.
I still can't believe that he hasn't been here on the platform.
His business is sensational.
Sensational. He's amazing. Him and Velunguban, they've done extremely well for themselves. I think we'll have them one day on the platform. But anyway, myself and Uzibusiso Mkhwanazi, together with the Mzito's Kitchen, we're partnering up to open a different brand for Mzekezeke.
Beautiful.
Like Mzekezeke.
Mzekezeke was come back.
We're calling it Mzekezeke Foods at the time. That was even before MOFAYA. We're working on Mzekezeke Foods. You know, we're moving into a spot there at Gandhi. Is it Gandhi Square? Where there's buses. And
I used to have a fish and chip shop there.
Oh, yeah, you once told me.
Penol's Fish and Chips around the corner.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
God is pusher.
How was that How was that experience?
It was amazing. That's how I ended up meeting Umzito, Natasha. I met the Nando's founders, Fernando and Robbie. I met Carlo Gonzaga as well. They had the fish and chip company, by the way, which was promoted by Uspiro Shabalala at some point. I've met a lot of people and I've learned a lot. Yeah, but it was a great experience. We'll speak about it another day.
No, we'll speak about it another day.
So, nanifuna ukuvula lapha Gandhi Square. Kwakhona uKospotong at the top. Same with in Melville as well.
Yeah.
We're students of life. Eh? People mustn't take us for granted. See, we're there.
We're watching. And I think also it takes a lot of businesses to fail for you to become so solid to have one that succeeds. And all these business people that we look at today as successful business people, they've gone through a lot. A lot of them, when I speak to them face to face and close range, personally, I'm not saying other people, I always see the scars in their eyes. I always see the betrayal they've had to go through. I see the pain, I see the tears, I see the losses, I see everything. Well, not everything, but just their eyes. They always say windows but in
your eyes are the window to the soul.
To the soul. So I always see it. Every time when I speak to these like very successful business people, I look them close, like straight eye-to-eye contact. I can just see what they've gone through. So
scars.
So big up to those type of people. And I mean the likes of Abo Grootman Zungu. I know they've just bought the Amazulu soccer team right
Sandile
now.
Zungu.
The Zico Group.
Boom.
The Zico Group, one of the most amazing, successful businesses.
Shout out to the Black Business Council as well.
Yeah, I know he played a very good leadership role there as well. And another partnership that inspires me is his partnership with the Grootman Mike Teke on the Seriti Group. The Seriti Group is doing extremely well as well in different industries. So there's a lot of South African businesses that the masses doesn't know about. And there's a lot of South African
so many stories, man.
Business people that are incredible business people, but that are just behind the scenes that a lot of the masses don't know about.
Shout out to the guys at Yatini. Shout out to the guys at Scrapyard in Newcastle. There was a story I wanted to say, man, it slipped me.
Sorry, I'm sometimes
Mzekezeke. No. But yeah, man, shout out to everyone. And we need to learn. And you said business is a sport.
Yeah.
And I did say on a platform recently that the same way we get in Ntwana zethu to start playing soccer, bena 5, 10, and our daughters to start playing netball, hockey, kids need to see business and entrepreneurship as a sport.
Exactly.
Ikele should have that.
You need to
where
be
kids
in
are
it.
selling.
You know, for you guys to see MOFAYA. Yes, I know, you know, Massive Metro, maybe you know Vandal that failed at some point. You know, what else would you know? TS Records.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of other failures that you don't know about behind the scenes. Yo, if I can start opening up on those failures, even when one was pursuing tenders at some point, one didn't succeed and how tough it was. And the one tender that we ever received in our lives, we were doing a great job and we were never paid for like 3 years. One ngalad there. And a lot of other initiatives that one has started with a whole lot of other people that have failed.
Yeah.
And at some point, I actually even forgot to go back and deregister some of the things that we had started. You know, when we agree on something, we're excited, we register a name and whatever. You know, a few months later, it doesn't turn out to become whatever we thought it would become. And then at some point, you even forget to go and deregister your name.
Hey, people mustn't go to the CIPC. I'm a company now, 1,000.
And then they think you got a lot of money, but it took a lot of those failures for one to be here.
Yeah.
So you're not the only one, and you're not dumb, you're not incapable, you're not a failure. It just takes you being right once. I say to you all the time.
You need to be right just once.
I'm emphasizing on that business is a sport.
Yeah.
Let it be a lifestyle. Let it be a sport that you play. You know, collaborate, partner with people. Other people will disappoint you. Other people will backstab you. It's always never the end of the world. No matter how much they break your heart or disappoint you, or even some of them even steal your money. At some point, somebody stole 5 million worth of stock from myself and CPO. Not even stole. Like we gave him that amount of stock.
And
almost shut down our business. And he created a relationship with us for 6 months. Trusted the guy. 6 months later, told us of a big buying group from the north, and he wants to handle Limpopo and Zimbabwe. And we agreed. We did a great deal. Disappeared. 5 million rands worth of stock. We're almost shut down. Our business was almost out of the game. Actually, we were out of the game for quite some time, but we had to rebuild ourselves slowly. And these are some of the things that happened behind the scenes quietly that we don't know about, you know?
Yeah. No, so shout out to, I wanted to actually give a shout out to Gayton McKenzie. He used to have Rivonia on deck here in Sandton as well, selling authentically African food. Shout out to...
They also had ZA, remember at some point?
That's ZA, Beno
around the
as well.
World
And
Cup time.
Ashwin Willemse, ex-Springbok. Hey, no, guys have been around. It's exciting. It's actually exciting.
For those days. You're just reminding me of my grooving days back in the day. Guys, I was not this Mkhukhu man who's just a boring man. Back in the day, I was, yes, groovy, Latina. I mean, I never regret my life. So thanks to Gayton and Kenny. I know. Those days, guys, thank you for that experience.
Shout out to Untokozo Ngcobo and her leadership at DUT. They've created an entrepreneurship hub in Opus. And what it does is it's revolutionary in that the students that are there studying entrepreneurship, they get to tender to the university and become suppliers. I'm saying this because we had tuck shop prefects in primary school and high school. And I'm thinking it shouldn't have just been tuck shop prefects. There were kids that played rugby, soccer, netball, hockey, chess, etc. There were kids that were in the choir, that were in the marching band, that were in the ensemble, etc. There were kids that did drama. We didn't have kids that were pushing business to a point where they know with 30 minutes before break, they always have to go and set up. Every day at break, there are tables where they sell ikota, what ezinye ingane kuse double shirt lam, uyazi ukuthi at break uzihamba uyoshisha ukuthi le ingane ngoba ziyathunga, they run a laundry. If we can do that at the school level where kids get scrolls, ukuthi you were the best entrepreneur of the year. So this year, nyamazi, you guys niyazithanda amagwinya akhe ne-archer. He made 50,000 this year esikolweni. And make it a sport so that kids learn. And then they start merging and collaborating. Then you have regions. Like Gauteng, the kid that's selling the most. Oh, now you made SA for entrepreneurship back in 2018. No wonder you're a multimillionaire today. We need to turn it into a sport. And I think there's something lacking there that we could really, really play on. Because we've got kids now who especially at varsity level. But there's kids that sell sweetie and biscuits at school.
There's kids who about things I'm a cool time.
I'm a cool time.
I'm a cool time. Yeah.
Guava is my favorite. So we need to turn it into a sport. That's how we'll change the culture of this country and become traders like the Asians. The Asians are like Mzekezeke ukudayisa.
And the reason why I mean Mzekezeke ngatalong by spaza.
Yes.
So if you inculcate a kid around that type of an environment, that's how they're going to grow up to become. Little did I know then, my parents they were literally training an entrepreneur.
Yes. So we need to do that with our kids. We need to make it cool to sell. Because everyone's like, hey, we are daisa, usabi, scam. If all of us are doing it, jive. If anyone knows anything about jive, about Michael Jackson, to stand on a stage, that's embarrassing. But if that becomes your career, it's exciting, and then all the other kids want to dance. If Usbuda is on the streets at Dais and every other kid and every cool celebrity is on the... Kids are going to be like, but every celeb sells, dog. I also want to sell. And we make it a thing with Tangsabi. And we start then, with how bad was your failure? I lose 50,000. I mean, I lose 100,000. And in failure,
yesterday in 30 minutes, we made 1,000. Myself and Panther at an activation in Alexandra. Shout out to Unimart in Alexandra. Let me just throw that in, another plug. Sorry to disturb you. Alex Plaza, Unimart, stocks MOFAYA. So now Alexandra, vayo pa Unimart, seya shisa isama ma indonas vanno paisa. O labada abana ma van, latan stokora ko Unimart ko Alexandra Plaza, livang lilo paisa let's new. So we're doing an activation there. Myself and Panther had a selling challenge for 10 minutes, but it ended up becoming 30 minutes. He beat me. He made 684 in 30 minutes. I made 340 something in 30 minutes. Oh, 440 something in 30 minutes. Together, collectively, we made about 1,001. C2. But it's because we're intentional about it. We are competing.
Yeah.
But at the end, I was like, wow, both of us just made 1,000.
Imagine if we made that like the competition. How much can you make this week? How much can you sell this week? And you compete and the school makes it a thing. Who won, who lost? Lapo, they're making money. It's not just you sold more, because we used to have these raffles and what. But it wasn't us learning how to make our own money and grow our businesses. That would be a game changer. Game changer. So it's a challenge to ONG Mkhukhu and the Department of Basic Education. I think Upladen Zimande is still in higher education. Shout out to Ikhrodman. I couldn't join him because my voice was gone. Panyaza Lesufi, MEC of Education, who's now become the new premier of Gauteng after David Makura.
Congratulations, man. Yeah, shout out to him. Yeah.
So it's a challenge to them.
Thank you for remembering that one. Yeah.
It's a challenge. So Panyaza, whatever he's doing, he's reshuffled his cabinets there at the province level. They must try and, especially because Gauteng is the economic hub of this country. It must filter down because he knows how important education is to the kids. Let's make business entrepreneurship a sport. Because if we're saying we're sending kids to school so that one day they can make money and feed themselves, why don't we have that integrated into schooling? I mean, so shout out to Panyaza Lusufi and the crew. I think it was maybe our magic touch, bringing him on to the Hustlers Corner there.
I was irritated last week. You missed another dope interview. Anyway,
anyways.
Let me mention Advocate Talimpov. But anyway, we'll do it next time. Let me just mention it. Yeah, we'll drop it soon though.
So you and I had a conversation on the panel show. I'm glad you mentioned this.
Yeah.
There was something you said and you smiled and you laughed and you're like, if you don't get it, forget about it. And from there, the comments went berserk.
They assumed I was
Baba, for the first time, Usbu is confessing that he's actually Mzekezeke. I've asked you before many times if you are Mzekezeke, and you said you're not, and you said, look, Mzekezeke has been on a sabbatical. He's thinking of coming back into the game. Were you confessing that you are Mzekezeke? Are you Mzekezeke?
No. People like myself who've been in the media for quite some time know how to create moments. I knew that that's what was going to happen, but I wanted to do it on your platform. Your platform is also new. I love it. You're my brother. And I also don't want people to miss a good interview.
Thank you so much.
Your platform is still growing. It's still small. So at the back of my mind, I did hope that it does become one of those moments. Or maybe if it goes viral and it happens on your show, type of thing. Not ukudlala ngabantu per se, but I was also, it's deeper. Basically what I said there is deeper than surface level listening.
Do you remember what you said? Because I remember.
I remember exactly.
Okay, please say
I said basically a lot of people always ask me, Mzekezeke ubuya nini? And then I think I probably won't paraphrase 100% correctly. But I said something along the lines of, the very same person who's asking me, Mzekezeke ubuya nini, is holding a MOFAYA can. And then I sort of, in tongue in cheek, I laughed, and then I said, acted the same.
Yes.
No, they must go to your platform and go watch what I said. So they actually understand and get the entire context. But and then I said, in tongue in cheek, I said, if you don't get it, forget about it. For me, sometimes I do know, and I do know that a lot of our audiences are young people, but I also know that we've got a very intelligent audience.
Yeah.
And when I say things like that, I sometimes say things that I deliver as in passing or as a joke, that on surface level you can think this is what I'm saying, but I'm actually saying something deeper, or I'm trying to make you think. So maybe in your mind you might think, what does it mean in relation to somebody asking him, but that person is holding a can of MOFAYA, and then he just leaves us hanging. What does it mean? Easy confessing. Let me put it this way. You guys assuming that was a confession, I think that's lazy thinking. It's something a little bit deeper than that. I just wanted you to think further. So go check out that interview again and maybe play with your mind and think what I was trying to say. It could be a couple of things that I was saying. It's like rappers. They've got things like triple entendres, double entendres. You never know these things.
DJ Sbu, are you Mzekezeke?
No.
When is Mzekezeke coming back? Do you speak to him?
Yeah.
When is he coming back?
I haven't spoken to him in quite some time now. But guy's doing well. Guy's doing taxis. And every time when we speak about the music, it hasn't really been that much of an interest. But lately, because of that and some other posts that I've been putting up, there's just been an interesting conversation around music. So the last time we spoke, it was about music.
Mzekezeke inspired, I think it was a DJ Cleo creation, Skonondo.
Yeah.
You believe Mzekezeke inspired Skonondo?
Yeah, he also inspired Arthur's creation, which was, I think Skonondo was, Black Sam was Cleo.
Oh, Black Sam.
Was Cleo's creation.
Okay, Black Sam, sure.
Cleo company, yes. And then Skonondo belonged to the Kurutman Arthur Mafukate's company.
Oh, okay.
So there was Skonondo from 999.
Yeah.
And there was Black Sam from Will of Steel, which was under the leadership of the great DJ Cleo, legendary DJ Cleo. Shout outs to Cleo, shout outs to the work we've done over the years. Shout outs to all of us just coming into this game. As a student village, writing Cleo, Nabole Tabo. You remember those days, bro? And, playing on vinyl, releasing Toana, Monde was still alive, to be, have become the national, let me say, treasures that we've become. So I've got a lot of respect for you, bro, and the work and amount of contribution you've had in the game. And personally in my life, the contribution you've had in my life. And I also hope you also appreciate the contributions that I've also had in your life. And it's always nice sometimes as we're still alive to appreciate each other. Just like you and I, how we always affirm each other,
Thank you. No, we're living in an era of superheroes. Black Panther, Wakanda, the new movie's coming out in November. I recently watched The Woman King with Viola Davis and Thuso Mbedu. absolutely sensational. Thanks to Umchasto for putting me on.
I haven't checked
I was
it out.
hesitant to watch it.
I'm
Tuso
so sorry, Tuso.
Tuso and Viola's.
Please don't be mad at me. Congratulations, by the way, but I haven't checked it out yet. I'm embarrassed that he told us about it. You've checked it out. I haven't. But anyway, go ahead.
No, you'll make time. I mean,
Sorry, Tuso, but congratulations. Very proud of you and love you always, you know.
The acting between the two of them, the chemistry is mind-blowing. I wish her nothing but the greatest of success, Utuso Mbedu. She actually has everything that it takes to become the next Charlize Theron, meaning the next export.
She already is.
And even bigger than that. I think she's only been there for a short period.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of longevity as well.
I understand.
So kudos to her. We're living in an era of superheroes, and I think Mzekezeke for a long time was our version of a superhero. The way he stood up to people like Jarul, Abo Ludacris when they were in the country. And I think there's a vacuum somewhere there. I don't know if it's for Mzekezeke or maybe it's a challenge to kids out there. Why can't we create? And Uzamalek Giza spoke about how some of the ideas of Marvel and DC were taken from some of the imaginations of Okredo Mutu and people like him. When are the young kids going to create our new superheroes in this country? Whether it's music, whether it's acting, whether it's whatever else. When is the next Mzekezeke coming? What will it look like? Will it be a female? Will it be a black colored female? Will it be an Indian gent? Like, there's a hunger for South African superheroes that dress a certain way, look a certain way, maybe Lady Gaga-ish, speak a certain way. And when people speak about Spider-Man, you're like, yeah, but we've got. When people speak about Black Panther, you're like, but no, we've got. And Tina, it's not even on TV. That person makes music, they run businesses, they maybe have a Mzeke's restaurant somewhere. I think there's a gap in the market for that. I think our people are hungry for superheroes. We like real superheroes that are normal human beings, but I think, maybe you'd call it gimmicky, but the Rick Ross, you dress a certain way, or Lil Wayne, like we hunger for superheroes that are unique, and when you see them in the streets, you're bumping into a ngazini, and you're just like, no, I can't believe I'm seeing Mzeke's man, like it's him. And you want to take photos and go crazy. I think there's a gap for that. I don't know how you feel.
I totally agree. When we did Mzekezeke under TS Records, we did some great work as his label. That's the label that released Mzekezeke's music. Shout out to TK, who's now also in Gauteng politics. We were conscious about what we're starting. I remember there was an interview that happened on TV with shout outs to one of the greatest South African presenters of all time, Majota Kambule, Fred Joe.
Hey.
The greatest.
Hey.
Pretty dope till today. Still consistent.
Too dope. We
love you, Grootman, and you must know, you've always been an inspiration when it comes to broadcasting as well. Flawless. Amazing broadcaster. Anyways, you must also remember he played a big role in in the rise and the growth of Sis Pearl too. And a whole lot of others, I can mention. And also he played a big role in the early development of the comedy culture in South Africa. He was one of the people that gave birth to certain features on his shows where he would feature about David Kau and the comedians about who would then go on to start their own Pure Monati show.
You're right. And I remember Kau and Dada Man.
Yeah, you remember the Dada Man. Yeah, the Dada Man was on Fetcho. Basically, the Fetcho show was on radio. It was also on television. And just, what he became, he was a cultural icon of Fetcho, and what he did can never be undone. And sometimes, as I was saying, we have to keep telling these people and giving their flowers while they're still alive. And just the role he played in just giving birth to that comedy culture. Last week, we just launched a brand new episode here on the platform. We're on Virtual Mkhukhu here, but the platform we're on is the Hustlers Corner. But Virtual Mkhukhu is its own platform. There's a link on the description. Subscribe to go to the channel because there's a lot of content that is not shared that is on Virtual Mkhukhu on its own. We're repeating the same thing now. We've got a new show on Thursdays. So Mondays is Virtual Mkhukhu. Thursdays is a show called House of Sankofa with the root boy Paul Mnisi. He's also another cultural icon who also in the early days of hip hop's development in South Africa, he had an amazing feature on his radio show called Rap Activity Jam with Oskido. That also gave birth to a lot of rappers who used to rap on that radio show. And, he also gave birth to the poet. Let me not say gave birth, but he basically supported and put it on mainstream, the poetry culture also, Root Boy Paul. And he was one of the first, he actually is the first person that introduced me to Mkhukhu Credo Muta when he was still alive. Because Paul, back in those days, in his 20s, he was the editor of Y Magazine.
Yeah.
Because YFM also had its own
Yeah, I remember I used to buy it.
You used to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Magazine. And he was the editor of the magazine. And I remember he had to drive to Le Plaza Nekuruman to Mkhukhu Credo Muta when he was still alive. And this is back then. Paul has always been conscious. So a lot of the things that Paul knew then, things that a lot of us are waking up to lately. It's beautiful. He's also another cultural icon, and I'm honored to be learning from Paul and just having him on the platform and having him agree to want to podcast. And shout outs to him being back on radio also on 2000. So you've got such people, right, that we always have to give props to. So Phat Joe was interviewing Umandoza. Umandoza spoke broken English, and Phat Joe made fun out of it. And then they created promos out of it. And back in those days, there was no social media.
Yeah.
And Mandoza sort of became like a laughing stock. And myself and TK, it happened that we were watching that episode together. And with Mzekezeke. And it was intentional that Mzekezeke will be him. Because he was the way he was. And people like Mzekezeke, it's people you never think they'll make it on mainstream radio. People like Khabzela also, when they first started and came out in the township driving taxis, being very charismatic, full of jokes, witty, and everybody from the taxi. Okay, you know those taxis when you're still young that umeleon.
Sure.
You know, other taxis can pass, but there's another one that you're waiting for.
Sure.
And when it comes, you want to get into it. Because in the style, the way it looks, the sound, and the taxi driver is just friendly, cracks jokes, and Khabzela was one of those people. And at some point when YFM was starting, Abo Leon, Abo Greg knew of this taxi driver who's very famous, Soweto, who drives the coolest taxi. And they thought they can actually take that taxi driver and put him on radio. And they believed when he goes on radio, he'll kill it.
Yeah.
At first, Khabzela got his first job. People don't know that Khabzela worked for Metro FM, but not on air.
Sure.
This is before he worked for YFM. He was behind the scenes. He was a technical producer. But at some point when YFM came, I think that's how they brought Khabzela to YFM. He became also a cultural icon. A lot of the things that we do now, we are free on TV everywhere. It's Ekasi. There's even companies that are named Namakama Ekasi on our drinks. This Namakama Ekasi. It's normal. It's normalized now. Back in the day, it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
It was just English on TV, and everybody strived to want to speak English. Khabzela came and break all of that. He came on radio and he sounded like Ekasi Konin. You'd listen to driving Ekasi and just hearing everybody That's how dope he was. From being a taxi driver, bro, to becoming like a national figure, but he was just on a provincial radio platform, which was YFM, because he ended up presenting about Jam Alley, he ended up DJing, it just ended up becoming huge and big. And a lot of the Kasital and slang, and now it's normalized. He's one of those people that started that culture. So also giving props to another legend who's passed on. Young people who don't know Khabzela, go Google Fana Khaba or Khabzela, Kha, Khabzela. One of the most amazing South African broadcasters of all time. So give him his flowers. So just to wrap it up, that's what inspired Mzekezeke to be brash, to go for what he believed in, to not necessarily show his face, to just wear working clothes, which is just a mask and an overall, and still show people that he can make it without his looks. And he was unapologetic about speaking the way he did, because the fun was made about Mandoza not speaking good English. And Mandoza could not speak good English. Mzekezeke had to show people that you can actually succeed without good English. A lot of successful business people can't even construct a good paragraph speaking English. They can't even overseas, French business
Even overseas.
people, even successful soccer stars all over the world.
Even Amapunu here, Afrikaners, some of them can't speak good English, but they're very wealthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's basically, for me, the consciousness of Mzeke starting and showing people that it can be done. You don't have to be a certain somebody. And how he came and did so much, 5 albums, multiple award winning, and just traveling, etc. When I hear people say I'm him, it's always a pat on my shoulder. Ngaphakathi ngiyajabula, you know? But I'm like, no, man, guys, it's not me. So I I can't be claiming I'm a prop someone don't see me. Because guys, you need to remember every time when you're saying Mzekezeke, you're giving me all his success, his achievements and accolades. I've got my own accolades. I think I've done well for myself on my own.
Sure.
So every time when you're saying Mzekezeke, you're giving me more accolades that I don't deserve, that belong to somebody else, but whom right now does not want to be in public. But I think it's been a really great part of South African culture, part of South African history, that all these people have done great things. I mean, there's gonna be times where we speak about the music industry and just all of those heroes, Abo Oskido, Abo Mdu, Abo Sinyaka, may so rest in peace, and all of those guys, how they gave birth to the business side of the Kwaito music. Because it's them who were the early independent labels. It's them who had to figure it out. There was no blueprint of starting our own companies and being independent. It's them. All this thing that is now normalized and everybody speaks about it globally. Abo Oskido were the first, you know, Abo Arthur, Abo Mdu, you know, they came with that business aspect of wanting to become entrepreneurs and owning their masters and helping others, putting others on. And if you can just mention the names of musicians who ended up becoming iconic, who came through just the Kalawa stable alone.
Kalawa was massive.
Massive. I mean, even the interview that we had with Utandiswa last week, it was just speaking about how she grew up with the Kalawa boys, you know, starting out from Mitchak Knife, growing up with the Kalawa. I mean, Black Motion is from Kalawa. Maporisa from Kalawa. Bongo Muffin from Kalawa. Mafikizolo from Kalawa. Pumshaga from Kalawa. Trompis from Kalawa. Oskido. Mahuta. You know, name them, Chakarum. I mean, and this is, I mean, Professor. You can go on and on and on and on. This is an institution.
Yes.
And just also the role they played in the growth of DJ Tira, the role they played in the growth of DJ Black Coffee. That's an institution of its own, on its own, of young black people, young people who are young in their 20s, who believed they could actually build businesses behind this creativity that was just out there, that was being taken advantage of by major labels. You know, so flowers to all of you guys. I think we've all done a great job over the years, and it's up to you guys right now who are doing it now to even take it further and do it better.
Yeah, the power of platforms and us building the platforms. We've spoken about online, but even physical platforms. I just want to send a shout out to the guys who ran Back to the City. I believe it was an amazing success. I want to send a shout out in particular to someone who's close to me that was working in their marketing, Upumzile, Tracy Wilborn. But shout out to Back to the City. It's come back bigger and better. AKA was there. I saw they even brought in Keith Murray. They brought in Talib Kweli, who used to be my favorite rapper when I was younger. And he was the beginning of my consciousness as well. And everyone else who performed there, sending a shout out and giving their respects to the late Ricky Rick. And the impact that he's had when we speak about icons who have had an impact on people's careers. You know what I mean? So shout out to the guys of Back to the City, and I'm hoping we can create more platforms. You were speaking about the South African Traditional Music Awards that were held recently, where you guys were a sponsor there. It's a challenge. We've got so many things that we need to do, and we have so many things that people need to take on as their personal challenges, that I want to build the next big award show. I want to build the next big event. I want to build. If Back to the City is the biggest hip hop festival on the continent, the question becomes, who's running the biggest Amapiano festival in the continent or in the world? Who's creating the new institutions like Ikalawa, Soul Candy? Who's creating the next TS Records? You know, who's becoming the next Khabzela? Who's becoming the next Fat Joe? And how are they infiltrating social media and mainstream media to change the culture of this country so that we can move forward? Who is infiltrating politics to make business and entrepreneurship a sport? Who is taking on the challenge of saying, I want to build generational businesses so that 5-10 generations from now, they say it was my great grandfather or grandmother who started this thing, and this is where we are today. So it's inspiring. We need to create the platforms, and yeah, I'll stop there.
Thank you for this week. I think we can go on. I even forgotten how long we've gone on for.
It's been an hour 50 minutes.
Hour 50.
Or close to an hour and 50.
An hour 50.
Close to an hour and 50 minutes.
So almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Should we go on for another 10 and make it 2 hours?
Yeah.
So sometimes don't overdo something. Ne?
Sure.
Sometimes you must leave it hanging. There's something I learned in Zulu class from isiZulu Soqobo. There used to be a book I used to read. I even remember.
I know that book. It's brown.
You remember?
I talk about a brown book.
Is it
not in
Ngolobane?
Come on, Penzo.
There's also another one with the rope in front called Igoda.
I don't even study Zulu, but I know these things. Come on, Penzo.
They taught us that when you leave a story, you must leave it with an ending that is hanging.
Okay.
And they used to call that Ingwichi Kwembu. Let me see what's the actual meaning of it. Let me Google Ingwichi Kwembu as I close off the show. Ingwichi Kwembu. I learned that from when I was still a kid. Ingwichi Kwembu in English, yeah. They say Ingwichi Kwembu in English is a twist.
Oh, beautiful.
It just says a twist. And it says, let me see, let me open here. Let me open here quickly and read this other definition. Sorry, here it is, it's opening. Lena ingwichi kwembu yomdlalo wesizulu okhuluma ngezimi. Oh, no, they're not explaining the meaning. Oh yeah, I thought they were explaining the meaning. But yeah, you guys can do that on your own. But
leave a story with a twist and a cliffhanger.
And a cliffhanger is long, yeah. Ingwichi kwembu is a cliffhanger.
People that haven't read it, Ingolobani Sizwe, very powerful Zulu book. And I'm thinking about it now that for those of you who are out there, we have limited time and capacity and even skills. I would like to challenge the hustlers and the squatters out there, not just on this platform, but on all our platforms and sibling and child platforms. We need you guys to come and help us, number one, translate these podcasts into different languages, specifically isiZulu as the most spoken language, but isiXhosa, Sepedi, Setswana, Sotho, Tsonga, Swati, etc. Please come and help us translate so we can have captions in different languages. Please help us dub. Mr. Beast does it. He's an American YouTuber, very huge. He's got different channels where he's gotten actors to come and dub into Spanish. I think they might be going into Mandarin, I'm not sure.
It's just Mr. Beast made $41 million just last year alone. Sorry.
It's crazy. So we need you guys to take on this challenge of saying, we want to come on to the Hustlers Corner of Virtual Mkhukhu as partners, but we'll create like the Zulu channel of the Hustlers Corner, whatever it will be called. And then someone will do a voice, Yasbuda, someone will do the voice of me, but in whatever native language that you want. And then later we'll do Spanish and Mandarin, whatever.
Same as other countries do. Even here in South Africa, SABC used to do it back in the day.
Yeah.
We used to watch Abo in the heat of the night.
The heat of the Popeye as well.
Yeah, and then it would be translated.
You go to Radio 2000 for, I think, the English version.
Simulcast,
and then, and because of Ingolobane, DJ Spoo's got books that he's authored. I've got books that I've authored. Such an easy way to make money. Come and take our books, translate them in another language, partner with us, and then send them out there. All of a sudden, you've got Spoo's books in isiZulu, isiXhosa, Sepedi, Tsonga, Afrikaans.
And then we can do a deal there.
And you do a deal and you don't even need to write the book. We need more books like that. And then you can also just take some of the books we've written in English and turn them into indigenous language books so that we preserve our culture and history.
And here's another opportunity for youngsters that are out there. I know there's a lot of you guys in high school that watch us. There's a lot of you guys that are at varsity that watch us. Here's a task that we're giving you. If you want a job from any one of our platforms, whether it's the Penuel Show, the Hustlers Corner, Virtual Mkhukhu,
DJ Spoo Live,
it's DJ Spoo Live, whatever it is, what we want you to do is, this is if you can do it. The great Joshua Maponga, when we had him, he spoke about if you are asking for mentorship from him, he would send you to when he started writing articles and books or maybe episodes from, I think, the early 2010 or something, 2011.
Sure.
He would send you and say, go read up on a lot of the stuff that he's done and then come back and then he'll mentor you.
Yeah.
And then it says there'd be high chances that he knows you won't come back to him.
Because you would have gotten all of it.
You would have gotten everything that you need
Yeah.
over time if you keep on reading his stuff. So we're giving you homework, youngsters out there, to say, if you can timestamp our episodes from the beginning, from the first episode of the Hustlers Corner till today, if you can timestamp all of Penuel's episodes from the Penuel Show from episode 1, or timestamp whatever other podcast that we have of any of our platforms. It might take you a month, it might take you 3 months, we don't know. But if you come back and you timestamp, and you can even paste the timestamping on the comments. Some have done that.
Sure.
If you can do that with all the episodes, you've got yourself a job.
Yeah.
You don't even have to come here and meet us. You can come meet us if you want to, whenever you want to. You will just get the timestamping from you. You'll send it to us. We'll timestamp correctly based on the information that you give us. And then whatever we agree upon, we pay you every month. You don't even have to meet us. You don't even have to come here. Even if you don't, basically I'm trying to say it's open to everybody.
Yes.
Even if you stay in Kenya. Even if you stay in Cape Town. Even if you stay in Khayelitsha, you're staying in Mlazi or Kosishero. there's an opportunity to get yourself a job. You can get employed here by time stamping all over. Don't come with the idea that I want to. Go do it. And let's see who does
The
it.
challenge is on. Learn to add value. I spoke about this earlier. Chamat Paliaptia. Learn to be a good copier. Do it very well. Get the attention of the right people. Once you have the attention, continue to add value so that you stay. And one day you get to be on the table and then bring some of your people.
Thank you very much. Another opportunity, subtitles. So we probably, let me not say we are looking for people. No, create your own hustle, guys. Use us. We are opening ourselves up to all of you youngsters out there. We love you so much. Have a great week. Thank you, bro.
The virtual Mkhukhu, we're out.
It's been great, man. I appreciate it. For me, it's always like therapy, you know?
I appreciate that because it's therapy for me as well. It's good to recap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Easy.
Peace.
This is the Hustler's Corner.